Yolanda, are you wanting to go? Do you want to go? I was still able to get him at the same one as Damon and Hippolito. So there might be room. I can always just check.
Where is
it? Yeah.
Yeah, but like, go with the
In at 50, I think is what it's called. In at 50. It's like a few minute walk away from the conference center. No, I just found one. I don't know. Yeah, no, it's a nice one.
I hate to say it, I'm tired for you when it comes in town.
Yeah,
I am.
right here. It's done at the same time. 15 here.
Yeah, I like it. Some of them I just.
My son has.
Not by the water, yeah.
Still have a minute. We just don't have the city attorney on yet, but that's okay. It's up to you.
Did she give birth yet?
Not yet, but they don't want her away from home.
Yeah.
They want her close. So. Okay, she's here, so we're good.
Oh, yeah.
We're good whenever she's here. Yes.
Good evening, everybody. This meeting is now called to order. Roll call.
Yes. Mayor Cerna.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores. Here. Councilmember Saros.
Present.
Councilmember Sanchez. Here. Councilmember Villarreal.
Here.
At this time, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. If we can please remain standing, Council Member Villarreal will be doing the flag.
Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing while we begin. Location, Pastor Josh Fairway. Come forward.
I'd like to say thank you to Mayor Cerna and the city council members for the opportunity to give this invocation at tonight's meeting. We all understand the condition that our world is in at this present moment, an impending election, economy in crisis with inflation among other factors, which has created uncertainty and a sense of unpredictability in our world. It is in times like these that 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, if my people will humble themselves and seek me. We need healing in our land like never before, and the answer is seeking the wisdom of God. As council members, you are making many decisions, and the Bible says in James 1:5, if any man lack wisdom, ask, and it shall be given unto him. We pray for God's wisdom in decisions that you will make in the lives of our community members. The task is at hand is great, but there is nothing that prayer cannot accomplish. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today with humble hearts and open minds, seeking your wisdom and guidance. We acknowledge that the work that happens here in these meetings is significant, impacting the lives of those in our community, and we ask for your wisdom and guidance. Grant our council members the courage to lead with integrity, the wisdom to make decisions that promote justice and fairness, and the compassion to serve our community with the spirit of love and understanding. May they set aside any differences and work together for the common good, always striving to build a community that reflects kindness, unity, and prosperity. We pray for the well-being of our city and its residents, for our first responders and public servants, and for all those who dedicate their lives to the service of others. May the actions that happen here today and in all further meetings contribute to a community that is safe, vibrant, and filled with hope. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. God, move right along. Approval for the agenda.
There's a motion from Councilmember Sarah, second from Councilmember Sanchez. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
This time we will, our public comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person with 30 minutes for the total comment period, unless otherwise indicated by the mayor. The public may also choose to submit a comment before meeting via email. Public comments received via email will be distributed to the council prior to the start of the meeting and incorporated into the official minutes. However, they will not be read aloud. Under the state law, matters presented under public comment cannot be acted upon by the council at this time. Open to public comment.
Coin sending to Senator Lindsay top. You probably know she's trapped in the Capitol. You can watch her, they're still voting. Hopefully they're not gonna be there through the weekend. But I can truthfully say she's been thinking about Lindsay all week. And that relates to my report today. As many of you know, we have 2 field reps in every office. We have a vacancy that we've been advertising for in the 3rd county office. And I'm proud to say that the criteria was to get somebody who's from the area, knew the area, cared about the area. We want to respect them. We want to remind you there's other counties in the area. But Roxanne Serna has been hired and accepted position to serve in the Senate, serving you, representing the right county. So I'm looking forward to help because she's one of the people, I bug every one of you. Who do I talk to about this? Now I can bug her too. So anyway, that's all I had to report today, but I thought that was significant. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. No comment?
I'm Dr. Villanueva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Podium, state your name, please.
Dr. Henry Gilmore, thank you for the opportunity. You know, we put people in perplexity, because time tends to fade images from our memory. But I want you all, those of you who are older, to remember 9/11. 9/11 was a devastating time for all of us. I can tell you today exactly where I was at and how in disbelief I watched the tragedy was occurring on the East Coast and in Washington, etc. And it was the first responders that gave of themselves to not move away from the challenge of the towers. It was the first responders that moved forward. Thousands upon thousands of people died trying to save lives and trying to help one another. And it's a memory that is starting to fade in our minds. I've got to tell you, I remember the day that I drove into Lindsay and I saw the wonderful painting on the wall of the mural on the wall of the center. I'm thinking, what a glorious glorious gratitude or acknowledgement of those that gave their lives, of those that gave of themselves. And they not only live on the East Coast, but they live amongst us as well, as of here today. As times progressed, the images have faded, very much like in our memory. They have faded to where you can no longer even tell who's in the real anymore. So it appears to me, for no fault of anyone, that we have been negligent in maintaining that mural. One that is so significant in our historical lives, one that is so significant to show the courage of first responders, one that is a symbol of what happens when we come together. And I ask myself the question, why is it fading? Why is it disappearing as we drive by every single day? Why have we not rallied around this to whomever it belongs to? I don't know if it belongs to the Dream Center, it belongs to the city. I really couldn't tell you. All I can tell you is every day that I drive by that, I see the images fade more and more. So I've actually come here with a specific request that I know it can't be done now because it's not on the agenda. But through your leadership, I'm asking you to not forget 9/11, not forget the first responders, not forget the thousands of people who died as a result of doing that. People that today are continuing to suffer because we as a society have been negligent in meeting the needs of those who have cancer, or those that have lung problems, or those, et cetera, and family members of those that lost lives. But here in our little city, we have a very beautiful symbol of what that meant to all of us, all of us. So my request is, fix it. Get somebody to come out, touch up the paint, make it as vibrant as it was the first day I saw it. Because I remember how proud I was of being able to see something that represented our effort, something that represented what we value, something that represented how important it was for us to come together and to support one another. These folks ran knowing they were running into danger. They went and tried to save lives at the cost of their own. We should not forget that, ever. And so our way, as Lindsay, we can accomplish that is by refurbishing that mural. Now, I know things don't happen, and they're not going to get paintbrush out tomorrow. But I think it is reasonable that sometime between now and 9/11 that we celebrate what we're going to be doing to refurbish that mural. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comments? Is there any public comment? Hearing none, this session. Moving on to council report, we'll start with Councilwoman Gilruth.
I think I just have one thing to report. I went to the grand opening to what was his name again? Is it Bella Mia? Pretty good turnout. Dennis, you guys had a really good turnout. It was awesome. I mean, you should have seen the cheesecake. It was awesome. I mean, just to see the community come together was amazing. I can't wait to see like what downtown's gonna look like in years to come. So thank you for doing that.
Right along to Councilwoman Flores.
Yes, I attended a meeting on Friday for the GSA. And at first I didn't understand exactly quite what they were talking about. But then as they spoke, I mean, it was a room full of very intelligent people. And it was all about the water, how it affects us, how the vegetation has receded, how endangered species have been affected. This is my first meeting there, but I tell you, it was really interesting, and I learned a lot.
Thank you, Councilwoman Flores. Councilman Harris.
Yeah, thank you. So I also attended the Bellamy Aesthetics, great turnout. I was there the last hour. Congrats to the owners and also the chamber for supporting that new local business. Congrats to Roxanne on your new role. I have no doubt you'll excel. And third thing, me and the mayor just got out of the Economic Development Committee. A lot of good stuff coming out of that committee. We'll brief you on that in the next few weeks, if not months. But other than that, nothing else to report. Hope everyone's doing well.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sanchez.
It's good to see everybody here. I do not have any.
I don't have very much to report. I know I attended a few events. One of them was the Rawhide game. That was a great event. It was nice to see people come out and just really catch a game live. It's been a while since I've done that. It was nice to see participate, our own throughout the first pitch here. Lightning balls there is what they're calling them. So.
It's on Facebook.
But it was nice. It was nice to share that time with everybody. Rawhide did win 4-3 on that. Well, I also received or attended the grand opening. It was a great event. A lot of people were there. I was surprised we got everybody on that. Great food, great conversation with people. I look forward to seeing more of those events. Save the Children. I know Diana Mata does a great job with this organization and really pulling their resources together to reach the children in our communities. I know it's not just Lindsay, but it's the surrounding communities as well. If you guys want to be involved, please reach out to Diana and let her know, because the more hands, the more kids we can reach. Also, we attended the Kiwanis meeting. I know we talked a lot about developing different things in the community, and just as a service provider to the area, I know Rotary does a good job of providing services as well. And it's just one of those things to see them plan and activate their resources so that they can do more for communities. That concludes my report. Now to the city manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Several items of updates you want to see. The first of all, the budget update. We had initially intended to present the budget to you this evening, but we postponed that to the next meeting to allow staff some more time to make some necessary adjustments. On August the 15th, I attended the Kiwanis Club board meeting, had the opportunity to meet several new people that I have not met before. And I've actually been invited to come back and speak at the September 5th Kiwanis meetings representing the city of Lindsay. Did a nuisance abatement. Public safety conducted a cleanup of 5 illegal camping sites. As part of those efforts, they returned 11 shopping carts and made an arrest for public intoxication at one of our city parks. During the cleanup, we did have a liaison on site to offer information regarding shelters and available resources through Tulare. I also had the opportunity to attend the Rawhide game along with several other city staff members and council members throughout the first pitch. So that was kind of cool. It was a special evening for me because it was also my dad's 78th birthday. So several of our family members joined us, and we just made a evening out of celebrating the city of Lindsay and Dad's 78th birthday. And he got to see his son throw the first pitch. So that was a very special evening for us. I also attended the Bellamy Aesthetics ribbon cutting along with several city staff and council members. And the event was just well attended. What a wonderful job that they've done inside of that business. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I know they're positioned well for success. If you haven't had an opportunity to stop by there, I would encourage you to go on and check out that business. On Wednesday, August the 21st, the city clerk and I attended the State of Local Government Luncheon in Visalia, hosted by the Visalia Chamber of Commerce, featuring Supervisor Larry McCarry of District 1 and Supervisor Amy Shuckley of District 3. Mayor Brian Pachunian was also there, Vice Mayor Brett Taylor, and together they kind of dove into some more of the pressing business matters that impact our region. They also highlighted some of the notable achievements and shared their vision and outlook for the future. That same day, some of the city staff participated in a meeting between EDC members, Lindsay Chamber of Commerce, and the California Public Utilities Commission regarding broadband internet grants for low-income families and downtown businesses. They discussed a range of available opportunities, and identified some avenues for potential grant funding opportunities. So you may be hearing more about that. On Thursday, the 22nd, the city participated in the Lindsay Rotary's Lottery Night, China's Alley, at China's Alley. Rotary District Governor Michael Rivera came down for that event. We discussed several things having to do with Rotary and what they do. This past Friday, Acting Chief Hines took me on a field trip to the senior center, and I got to meet a wonderful group of our senior citizens. Got to spend about 45 minutes in bingo with them. And I have to tell you, it was a wonderful experience. Got to go around and meet each one of them individually. While we were there, we were made aware of a need for some technical training for our seniors, for those who carry iPhones and Android devices. And so we're working on a plan to provide some training opportunities for them at the senior center. So we'll be working with the senior center staff to make that happen. This past Friday, I met with a group of developers from Christart Development. You may recall this is the group that came in and did a presentation a few months back on the proposed redevelopment of the vacant properties along South Linwood between Honolulu and 8th Street. They're still very interested in pursuing the project, but they are awaiting some further direction from the city. To discuss these properties along with other city-owned vacant properties, I'll be bringing an item back to council in the coming weeks to get your thoughts on how we move forward with potentially redeveloping those properties. Yesterday, I was made aware of the grant that the city of Lindsay has been awarded for $1.75 million by Congressman David Valadale's office to be used for improvements to our water system. The funding is part of the EPA's community grant program. I'll be in between meetings and other tasks and reading through all of the grant information. I'll be working to complete the necessary application forms that have to be submitted prior to the funds being released. It's my understanding that this grant originally started in Hurtado's office, if I'm not mistaken, and then it made its way to Valadale's office where it gained further traction. So we're excited about that opportunity, and that money can be utilized to further enhance our water system. As they mentioned earlier, our Economic Development Committee met this afternoon, and we'll be reporting more information on that in the future. But one of the highlights that I wanted to share with you is one of the ideas that we discussed was the potential of taking our Christmas tree lighting event and kind of pulling in some of the downtown businesses and inviting them to open their doors to the community, maybe serving some hot chocolate and just trying to draw some people to the downtown area in conjunction with our event here in front of City Hall. So we'll be giving you some more information about that. Tomorrow morning, I'll be attending the Tulare County EDC Board of Directors meeting in Visalia. This will be my first EDC meeting, so I'm excited about that opportunity. I'm not going to give you a lot of updates on projects because I want to give our department heads an opportunity to do that. But the last thing that I'll leave you with is I just want to say a special thank you to city staff and some of our contract personnel. We had a very heavy agenda for this particular meeting. There's been a lot of parts and pieces that had to be pulled together very quickly to make this council meeting happen. Along with the budget work that we're doing, staff has been putting in a lot of hard work and a lot of extra hours to make all of this happen. And I just want to express my gratitude and appreciation to them for all the work that they're doing the city runs. And that's all I have to do.
Thank you for that update. Moving on to staff updates, we start with city services.
Yeah, I just wanted you guys to give you guys an update on our Luna Vista project. We're gonna close that up pretty soon. So hopefully next council meeting we'll have a notice of completion on that. Then our Westwood roundabout project, the Rosa project. that one we should be closing out. We're just still waiting on a couple items that are back order. We should get those in pretty soon. Also the O'Hara Ranch, I think we're already at that point where we're gonna start issuing a grading permit, so you're gonna probably start seeing some, dirt being moved out there pretty soon. I'm gonna say in a couple months maybe. Other than that, I think that's all we have right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Like to welcome finance. Human resources.
He's not here tonight.
Public safety.
So I think the city manager hit some of my items. One thing I did want to come back with an update on is the last meeting, Pro Tem Mayor Flores asked about the 9/11 mural and the flags. Megan has some photos that she's going to put up. So the flag and the baling wire on the actual mural has all been replaced. Joseph and Marshall were nice enough to let us use the boon in their equipment. So that flag has been replaced. All of the wiring that held the bottom of the flag, it was the original baling wire. So that has all been replaced. While we were doing that, we also replaced the 3 flags that were at the corner of, on the other side of the building, that were at Hermosa and Sweetbriar. So the US flag, the California state flag, and the Lindsay flag were all replaced. One of the things that when Armando and I were looking at this is we spoke with Judy Dreiger from the Lindsay Mural Committee, and we talked to her about refurbishing the artwork. She said she had already been in contact with the artist who lives in China. It would be about $60,000 to have him come back and to refurbish the mural. So she'd already done some research and found that another artist that is willing to do the refurbishment. Estimated cost with this other artist is about $20,000 for their fee and about $5,000 in painting supplies. Armando kind of worked with Judith on this part, but they have been exploring doing a fundraiser to fix this. So they were talking about selling prints, selling framed prints, things like that to try to raise money to do this. So that is something that is in the works. And just wanted to report back on that.
About t-shirts.
I think we could do all kinds of things. I mean, I'd love to have an art print of it. I actually started here. My very first day was when this was commemorated. So I do have that tie, as you discussed, even beyond the September 11th. But it is something that is in the works, and we hope to have something to report back to council. And we'll be putting that out on social media as well once that is fully fleshed. But we have been working with the mural committee.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
What she works with. Moving on right along to recreation.
Good evening, City Council. Hello, Billy. So I got a couple updates. Yesterday, Joseph and I met with the Frisbee golf guy. We kind of went over the course map, ADA regulations, and cost of the course. So we started that process yesterday. He'll be emailing us back with a price. So we'll come back to City Council probably in a few months with that project. The only thing we're doing is waiting on focused funding through community outreach. So we'll see how that goes. But we did meet with him. He was very grateful. The city took some time for the first time to meet with him. So he's excited. We're excited. So might have to be off hopefully in the near future at City Park. Touch base on the American Spirit mural. So just like Ryan and City Manager mentioned, Judy Dreyer, we've been meeting with her kind of all separate. We're actually going to meet all together on Thursday at 10 a.m. at the Wellness Center. So if you guys do want to attend, it'll be Thursday at 10 a.m.
Sorry.
Oh, what is it? This Thursday at 10 a.m. So I put together a donors sponsorship package. We'll be going over on Thursday, kind of reach out to communities if they want to donate. I do have samples of the frame artwork in my office, a large frame, a smaller frame. Ryan's been, I believe, working on a t-shirt design, or hopefully. So we've been working on it for the past probably a month. So we're at that point, we're ready to go out to the community, do some outreach, ask for donations, not only in Lindsay, but surrounding cities, if they do want to donate. Private donations is welcome. Like Ryan mentioned, 20,000 for an artist to come in and repaint, and 5,000 for supplies. So pretty much the committee involves the Lindsay Chamber, McDermott X, City, and Judith. So we got a good group, and we're confident hopefully by next, not this year, but next 9/11, that the painting mural will be completed. And we'll have a ribbon cutting and make it a big old shindig. So we're excited. And then in preparation of the new pickleball courts, we're gonna be hosting a pickleball beginners kind of lesson for our members. And then anybody in the community that's interested in taking part, is a $5 drop-in fee. We're gonna send out information this week on our Facebook page. They can register online. You don't have to come in person, they can do that online. So we're excited about that, and hopefully I'll have a start date soon.
Oh, yeah, I was asking for the date.
So we don't have a start date yet for the project or construction.
And that's a beginner's class?
Beginner's class, yes, and it'll be next month. A flyer will be going out on social media and our website, probably Thursday. So
Awesome.
that's all I have to report.
A question,
Yes.
I remember, which was last fiscal year, the year before that, we had talked about beach volleyball or sort of,
Yes, so that's still on the list of wishes. So I'll be coming back next meeting for the skate park. We may have some leftover funds from that project. So hopefully have a sand volleyball court. So it's on the list of many projects.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for everybody who shared tonight. It's nice to have that information firsthand and share with the public. We really appreciate you guys' reports. Moving on to the consent calendar, routine items approved in one motion unless an item is pulled for discussion. There will be no separate discussion of these matters unless a request is made. In which event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar to be discussed and voted upon by a separate motion. And which item? It's okay.
if there's no items, motion to approve the consent calendar.
I second.
A motion from Councilmember Saros, a second from Mayor Cerna. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to public hearings, section 10.1, conditional use permit and recycling collection center, submitted by Kira Stoll.
Thank you, Mayor, council members.
Press the button. It's okay.
Good evening. The item before you is a conditional use permit request. This was made by Oscar Gutierrez, and the request is to establish a recycling center.
Should work, this one. If it doesn't, I'll click it.
The location is at 455 South Mirage. This is currently developed with the Lindsay Food Center. Quick summary of the project. The site is zoned for mixed use, and the use of a recycling center is allowed with the approval of a conditional use permit. The project is exempt from CEQA, and the applicant proposes to collect bottles, cans, and plastic containers, usually referred to as CRV. And then the conditions of approval have been drawn up to ensure that the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding properties and that it maintains the aesthetics. This is the proposed site plan. You can see that it's located towards the back of the parking lot for the Lindsay Food Center. It is on a paved area and there is plenty of room to accommodate the recycling center as well as some additional parking. No existing parking would be taken up by the recycling center and there is. So one of the conditions of approval is the construction of a 70-foot tall fence or wall when it shall be installed on the north side of the recycling facility to block the collection area from nearby residences. So I will go back. So you can see here, north of the project site across Elmwood, that is a residential use, those are single family homes. And in order to mitigate noise and aesthetics, the wall is required. Other conditions of approval, these are just a few of them, include the upkeep of the site to make sure that there are no trash or odors or other negative impacts, as well as additional signage and the requirement that shopping carts be returned to appropriate store owners. And with that, staff recommends approval of conditional use permit 2024-02, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does he already have an existing business doing that?
Not at this location. I know there was, because there was one here before operated by someone else. I'm not sure.
Is he here tonight? You guys think there's a need for another recycling center? What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, I was just curious because I remember, last year, I think we approved someone going out there by
An highway.
198.
That is
But
on
I don't know if that was or 65 on 65.
No.
So it's just-
It's not right.
There's only one, right?
Joseph, you share some light on
There's two right now, there's two locations right now, there's one up behind Save Mart, and then we just approved the one on 598, I believe, 598, Highway 65, right by the dealer's choice, car dealership. He's tucked away there, so we already have two locations.
this would be the separate one.
This is a separate one, yes.
They typically do locate near grocery stores, because that's how a lot of the redemption credits can be turned into cash.
Any other thoughts?
I was just curious.
We will be opening this section up for public comment. Is there anyone to make a public comment?
A question would be, a couple of questions. A couple of questions that kind of resonate with me. One is, what is the current volume? The two existing ones? Is the reason we need a third one because it's overwhelmed and they need another place to go to? And secondly, when you think of the community of 12,000 people, when recycling is actually mean, right? So I think a little bit more information would be really helpful to find out the volume of the two existing ones currently have. And if it really requires us to have a third one. And then make a decision based on that.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to make a public comment?
I think it's nice to have one on this side. You know, there's the one on St. Mark, but the people in this area, I think it would be worth it.
Thank you, Marcia. Anyone else wishing to make public comment? Hearing none, this public comment, this section of public comment is on closed. So for this item, are we, because it's a public hearing, we're not voting on this yet, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna vote on it?
Yes.
Approve the first reading?
It's not an ordinance. So. You wanna?
Is there a turning on line?
This would be passed by resolution, which only requires one vote. And it is on the agenda, so it can be voted on.
Right.
Yeah, I approve.
Are you motioning?
I motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Villarreal, a second from Mayor Pro Tem Flores. Councilmember Saros,
I'm gonna abstain.
Councilmember Sanchez. And Mayor Serna.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
Moving on to action items, section 11.1, work contract prosecution or construction of the Olive Cactus Park expansion by Neva. Welcome, Neva.
Thank you. Good evening, downtown.
Good evening, David.
I'm pulling it back up.
We're
Sorry,
just waiting for
it went on the wrong screen, so.
So this is our first item, first of my items for the night. This is the consideration to award a contract for the construction of the Olive Bowl Cocoon Park expansion, phase 1 project. So as council is aware, we've been working on this project for way too long. I believe the community meetings that started back in 2018. This project works.
Oh, there it is.
So I just want to refresh everybody of how far we have come along and why it has taken so long. So if we start back to 2019, that's when the city put the application together and went through the planning of the design. If you recall, we had like 2 or 3 options. We went to the farmers market and the community voted on what the best layout of the park was. And this is how the conceptual layout that was the winner, and that was the one that we submitted for the application for the grant. So the city was successful in February 2020. The Parks Department awarded the city with $3.6 million. But then COVID hit, so we went into a little bit of stagnant mode. But we started the RFP process for the architect services, and the city contracted with MIG Incorporated, a landscaping firm, back in January 26, 2021. We started through the design in mid-summer. We received the 30% plans with a 30% estimate of $6.1 million. Remember, we only had $3 million. We didn't have enough money. That didn't stop us. We continued through the design. We know we have to deal with a lot of utilities. One of them being Southern California Edison, with the overhead lines that run from Mapia north to the senior mobile home on Hermosa. That took about a year and a half of design. Edison always takes a long time, but we were okay because we didn't have the funding to move forward. But luckily, in January of 2022, Caltrans released the first cycle of Clean California. Staff applied and we received the notice to proceed from Caltrans in August 18 of 2022. The city received approximately $4.6 million. Then we thought we had the right amount of money, the right amount of funding. So we released the first round of bids, request for bids, and we opened bids on April 18, 2023. We only received 2 bids and they were way too high, $12 million one and 14 million the second one. So council rejected the bids. We went back for redesign, we put another packet together, and we rebid it in September of 2023. Then we only received 1 bidder in November 3rd, and it was above our budget. And that was on November 3rd of 2023. We had lots of conversations in December, a lot of things were happening in December, January, I'm sure you guys recall. So we threw a bunch of ideas, we worked together, and we came with a phase plan. And this is the one that you have on your screen. Phase 1 being the green, the southern portion. That's when council identified what was the most need for our community. And you said softball and baseball fields. So let's make that our phase 1. Phase 2, that's the parking lot. And phase 3 is the northern park, which we all know as Kaku Park. So we went back to the landscape architect, we redesigned everything, but we knew we needed more money. So in May, we came back to council and we asked the consideration to allocate some of the ARPA funding that we still have from the original $3.2 million. And council was kind enough to assign roughly $1.7 million. So now we have the funding. We released the bids and we opened for the 3rd time last week, August 20 of 2024. So here are the results. We were very successful. We received a total of 4 bids, which I was so surprised to see. So the lowest bidder, Unified Field Services out of Bakersfield, gave us a base bid, which is phase 1 for the baseball, softball fields, basketball court, and the storage restrooms building, just right underneath $8 million. For additive alternate for phase 3, we structured this thinking if we have enough money, then maybe we can do the next phase. So the next phase is the northern park. So Kaku Park. How much is that? That came back at $1.4 million. And then the least of the priorities was the parking lot. So the parking lot came at $537,000. So doing an analysis of the funding, we know we got a total funding of a little bit over $10 million. We know how much, what was our lowest bidder numbers. With that, there's a construction engineering section that I have a detail. We had to pay utility underground, that was an Edison bill. We had to pay the landscape architect to do the 3 different designs. We have allocated a budget for potential construction management contract. We will need a firm to manage the project during the construction. So we put that. And also, we looked at ways of how can we save even more money. So one of the items that I discussed with our city managers, let's look into the restroom because it's a combination building. It's restrooms, the concession stands, and the storage. A lot of contractors were saying that there was a big lead time that they couldn't meet our deadline of June 30th, 2025. So when we talked to the city manager, he said, yeah, let's get quotes and let's figure this out. So that's the next agenda item, but I just want to bring it up to your attention that that's part of our construction engineering. I just put it there as we have to save the money because we know we're going to have that expenditure. Also, in another agenda item after this one, there will be the playground. We had the opportunity of applying for some funding for a grant, and we were successful. And this playground is for the Kaku Park. So worst case scenario, we would update the playground equipment at Kaku Park, but we will talk about that later on. So with that, we are asking council tonight to award and authorize to the lowest responsible bidder, Unified Field Management, for only phase 1 for $7,798,767.55, but also authorize staff to value engineer phase 1, see what other options we have to save money to see if we can do a little bit more at Kaku. So 2 different actions in 1. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
And the second one gonna cost us any money?
The second phase.
Proposal.
Oh, no, this is just, now that we have a contract with the contractor, he's gonna start breaking ground hopefully by the end of September. So we will be negotiating with him. Maybe he'll say, oh, you know what, I have this, light poles. The architect, the one that they spec'd out is $100, but I have this one that can cost you $50. Are you guys okay using that? Then we know we can save $50 there. So that's the negotiation, the value engineering that would happen under construction. And we would have to come back to council and say, we identified so much savings. Let's recognize those savings as deductive change orders. And then we would use it to identify projects that we can do at CACU, and council will have to issue a contract amendment at that point.
Hopefully for lower, right?
Hopefully.
That's the idea.
Yes.
2 questions, Neva.
Mhm.
To what extent is a demolition? Is it also like the trees? It'd be nice if trees stay.
We're saving the majority of the trees. I believe there's only one where the new storm drain pipe is going through. So I remember there was one of the big trees that would have to come down, but everything else we're protecting in place. But when you say demolition, all of the equipment for baseball, for the softball fields that are there, they're all coming down. We're saving the restrooms in the existing baseball fields, and we're saving the arbor at CACU Park. And the shade structure that we have at the baseball fields, we're relocating it to CACU Park.
Okay, what about
Those are the only items.
the trees at Haku Park?
We're,
Or we say
we're,
all trees? Okay.
we're trying to save as much as possible, and we're planting probably like 80 to 100 more.
Okay, awesome. And then the construction start date and timeline sort of?
Depending on the contracts, so I'm hoping that we're gonna have contracts back by the first meeting in September, because we will issue the notice of award tomorrow. So by September 10, we'll bring them here, so the mayor can sign and the clerk, and we can issue the notice to proceed the following day, which will be the 11th, and they have 10 days to start. So we will schedule a groundbreaking, and we will invite Caltrans. Because one thing I forgot to mention is, Caltrans, we've been in communication with them. We talked to them last week. We let them know that we were not gonna be able to afford doing the whole project, but they have to give us a green light. And they talked to headquarters on Friday, and we got that email at 3:55 that we were approved to go ahead.
Awesome. And they usually take about 9 months, right? I know the deadline for some of these grants is.
Caltrans, we have to spend the money by June 30, 2025, and we have 6 months to close out by December of 2025. So next year.
All right, no other questions. I'm thrilled to see this finally happen. It's been years,
This is the city.
and let the record show that the people here, now saw the timeline and how hard it was to finance this project.
Yes.
So yeah, I fully support it.
So I, for one, I like the phase idea. I know we've had many conversations over this. And so we narrowed it down now to where we can move around and where we can save money. And I think initially, I just that you're concerned about the trees. I know we're keeping the trees, but inside the park, there are very little trees that will not be affected by the demolition. I'm excited that we're gonna revamp that whole park. I know the layout was well put together, and we're gonna start seeing some groundbreaking work as we get to see firsthand what that basically looks like. So I'm also excited for that.
And well, lastly, thank you, Neva, and all city staff for all the hard work you guys put. I know you guys were in the back end getting white hairs like us too. So thank you guys for your work. Honestly, thank you.
I did have a question regarding the change orders. The change order, if there's a change order, is it usually the change order as they go during construction, or is it gonna be?
So we would have 2 different types of change orders. One of the change orders when you have an unforeseen situation, and that's when they charge extra because we didn't contemplate that in the original contract. Or, in this case, because we will do value engineering, this can be a credit change order. So in that case, we would have to put together, as many, we would actually do the value engineer of the phase one and see how much more savings we can do and bring one change order all together. Because that's the contract amendment that council would have to issue for Cahoon Park.
So you'll show the negative, if there's a negative, we show the credit.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is there any questions?
Loudly, motion to approve that.
I second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Saros, a second from Mayor Serna, Councilmember Villarreal, Mayor Pro Tem Flores, Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
You'd like to stay up there, we're gonna hear from you again, on section 11.2, purchase of prefabricated restrooms, concession, storage buildings for the old Cahoon Park renovation.
Thank you again. So just continuing the theme of the article, this is one way of that we identify to save money. Normally a contractor marks up,
Sorry, we didn't take public comment on the last item.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Is there taking public comment for section 11.1, is there a public comment? Hearing no public comment, there's no opposed? No.
Nobody.
We don't have that in.
Facebook, everyone is.
Moving on to section.
so this is the second item for the article. How do we save money? So when contractors, they start putting their prices together, if they're subbing it out, they're buying it from somebody else, they normally do markups. That can be anywhere between 10 to 25%. We don't know that. But, this is when I came to the city manager and I said, would you be okay by the city of Lindsay purchasing the combination building, which is the restaurant concession storage, and save potentially like $200,000. So he was all for it. So we requested bids. And this is the layout that was included in the, by the architect. He spec'd out which building he wanted. And it was done by Public Restrooms Company. Public Restroom, Company, when I contacted them, they said that they're really busy. They're 240 days out. That's too long. We cannot wait that much. But regardless, we requested quotes. I reached out to 3 different companies, Structure Cast, Public Restroom Company, and Corworth. Corworth sent an email saying that they no longer do business in California. So therefore, we only have 2 bidders, and you can see the next section, which is the building size. The architect spec'd out a 28 feet by 40 feet, the first one. Well, that brings up a lot of issues because it's a prefabricated building. What's gonna happen when they transport it? Now you're talking about they have to cut the building in half. So now you're talking about a 14-foot wide. So the transportation logistics becomes a nightmare, and that's reflected on the price. And so I requested other options. How can we accommodate at least 5 restrooms like the ones that we want, the same storage and the same concession area on a different configuration? So that's why you have before you 2 different options, a 24 feet by 30 feet, which is a smaller footprint, and then a 24 feet by 40 feet, which that accommodates everything that we need for a much less price. So, so we're recommending tonight that council considers the building for 24 feet by 40 feet for $551,814 to Structure Cast. In the lead time, once we give them, we sign the purchase order, we go through approval of the submittals, is 50 days, and they're out of Bakersfield. And they said that they would work with us once if they finish their building in January and the contractor designated to June, it's down the street. They'll bring it whenever we need to. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
One question, so there, it's It's the existing restroom,
This is a brand new restroom.
so there,
This is a second one.
okay, so
So,
it'll be two restrooms that are at the park location.
so this one is a combination building. It will have 6 stalls, 3 for female, 3 for male. It will have a storage area in the middle and then.
And the concession area.
And then the concession in the front. So the layout in the corner, that's exactly the layout that we will get.
And
Right.
the
It's a
existing
brand
restroom,
new,
the existing restroom, they'll be revamped, or they're not gonna get touched, the existing restrooms?
correct. The existing restrooms, they were renovated in 2016, 19.
Okay, got it. No more questions.
Is there any questions? Any other questions?
It's already built in the budget, right?
Yes.
Hearing no other questions, was there any questions? Hearing no other questions, we'll open this item up for the comment. Hearing no public comment, is now closed.
Motion to approve. The 28x40 or 639.60. Which is the one you guys think, right? Or which one?
It was the 551.
So 551.
Motion to approve the 550.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Saros, a second from Councilmember Sanchez. Councilmember Villarreal,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores, Mayor Serna.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to 11.3, game time grant funding and purchase of playground equipment. By name.
So this is our third item of the night for Olive and, looking at ways of how to save money. This opportunity came up from, Game Time, which is the brand the landscape architects spec'd out for Cahoot Park. They said, they sent us the application, we, filled it out, and we submitted and we were successful. We received $71,239.78, but we would only receive the grant if we buy it through them, because the grant is through them, of course. So, we requested a quote, and you can see that the grant is reflective, there. So the city would have to pay $125,961.69. They were really kind to put together a rendering for us. And this is what we will get. This is just a top view of the playground equipment. But here's a side view. You'll see that we would have 2 to 5 and 5 to 12. Those are the years that the things or the playground equipment is rated. So we will have the 2 different age groups within the same playground equipment and the swing sets in between. There's a few renderings. It comes with its own sheet structure. I think that's really cool. So it has a lot of different amenities, but all of that would be for $125,000. So tonight we're asking council to acknowledge the grant, to authorize the purchase, and to waive the bidding requirements due to Game Time. Their pricing is through OPNIA, which is a public sector program. They do all the procurement. It's a state recognized program. But not only that, they do have a contract with the state of California, leverage procurement agreement, and we have the agreement number there. Are we happy to answer any questions?
I have a couple questions.
Mhm.
I know the layouts there and it's a nice layout, but are they gonna have any sensory stations? For the kids with developmental disabilities?
Yes, they do. Mhm.
Also, are restrooms gonna be provided?
The restrooms are gonna be, the new restroom building is gonna be right at the center of the baseball field and the 2 softball fields. So yeah, it would be quite a ways for them. We did have it included in the first and the second design, a third restroom building, but because of funding, obviously we cannot afford it.
If we can use them for both, we don't need that.
Yes.
Two questions. So the remaining balance is 125,000. Where would that be sourced from? The general fund
No,
or the remainder of the?
this is all part of, the analysis we have and part of the ARPA fund if you want it,
Awesome,
use it from
awesome.
there.
And, nice playground. I do like that one though. The big one, that's me. But nonetheless, I think it's a great amenity for the community. Fully support.
Any other questions? And then this section is now open for public comment. Anyone wishing to make public comment? Seeing none, this section is now closed for public comment. Moving on to 11.4.
Motion.
You have to have a vote.
Or the section.
No motion.
You have to vote on this one.
Motion to acknowledge the grant, authorize purchase, and waive the bid.
I have a motion from Councilmember Saros, second from Mayor Pro Tem Flores, Councilmember Villarreal,
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Mayor Serna.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Um,
11.4.
11.4 is the consideration to award the contract for the construction of Tulare Road and Foothill Avenue intersection and pavement rehabilitation improvement projects. With us tonight, I have Suho Clark from Provost and Richard. He was our consulting engineer firm that did this design. So if council has any design questions, he's here to answer them. So just to remind the audience a little bit of this project. This project is facing the old high school and the new high school. So from Foothill on Tulare Road, from Foothill all the way to Strathmore, and then on Foothill from Tulare Road north to Sierra View. So we're gonna be repairing curb gutter, sidewalk, and of course the pavement rehabilitation and doing some intersection treatment so we can construct area for the kids to cross safety at those intersections. So just a little bit of design of Tulare and Foothill. The north side, we're gonna be doing the bulb outs like we have downtown, just to create more space for the students, the learners, sorry. But also on the north side of Foothill at Sierra View, the school district, when we started having conversations with them, they asked us to look into that intersection because there's nowhere to cross. And as you all know, it's a county road, cars are coming south on Foothill, and they're just coming at incredible speeds. One of the school district's requests was to consider a four-way stop. This is a county road, so we reached out to the county and they said no. It doesn't warrant for a four-way stop. So this was our way to mitigate reducing the crossing area for the children. And of course, along in front of the high school, if you remember, we have a lot of issues during that 15-minute window of dropping off and picking up where there's not a space because parents park where they're not supposed to park, and it just creates a chaos. So we will be fixing all that. The school district is dedicating some property where the solar farm is, and we're gonna be moving the curb and gutter north, just so we can create more spacing. And the plan also includes the restriping, so everybody knows where to park and what to do. So we went through the procurement process of this contract. We received 3 bids, the lowest bidder being Mac General Engineering out of Exeter, for $1,814,791.67. Where's the funding coming from? This is coming from local money, the Fund 266, which is your local transportation fund out of streets and roads. We have a total budget of close to $3 million that was identified on the 25th CIP on page 130. And you can see the breakdown of where the money would be allocated. The construction contract will be $1.8 million. We did budget it for a construction management contract, so a firm can manage that project, and I have it under parentheses spending council approval because that's the next agenda for you. And we have some contingencies because we never know encounter, if we have any change orders, that would be where the money would be tapped into. So this is a 100% funded project. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, in that timeframe, but it's gonna be all worth it. After it's completed, everybody's gonna be happy, and everybody's gonna move on to the next project. So I'm happy to hopefully start it and end it.
So I just have a question. Start date was when for our project?
We would issue the notice of award tomorrow, so if everything goes well, if contracts get signed on September 10th, then the notice to proceed gets issued on September 11th and 10 days after that. Whatever that falls, the 21st.
Is there any other questions? Not, this item is open for public comment. Or wishing to make a public comment on this item? Hearing none, this public comment is now closed. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion from Councilmember Sanchez, second from Councilmember Villarreal, Councilmember Saros,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores. And Mayor Serna.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to section 11.5, by Joseph Medina.
Good evening. So, I'm bringing up the extra help authorization for the construction management of this project. One that Nathan just presented, we did receive two estimates for this improvement. We did request one from them, but their staff is too busy right now, so we did request one from QK. They did provide us one, which is $129,700, and that includes construction administration, construction management, field observation services, laboratory, labor compliance services, and project closeout. So that's a complete from start to finish, so they can manage our this project. And it is in budget. Cynthia and Diego explained. So, in your approval.
Hearing no questions, this section is open for public comment. Hearing no public comment is now closed. Motion to approve.
I'll approve. Was that you that seconded? Yeah. Okay, sorry. There's a motion from Councilmember Sanchez, second from Councilmember Saros, Councilmember Villarreal.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Aye.
Mayor Serna.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to section 11.6, by the name of Mescla.
Hi again.
Putting it back.
Okay, so this item is 11.6, the consideration to award the contract for the installation of a programmable logic controller, PLC system at the water treatment plant and at the canal intake. A lot of people knows it by SCADA. SCADA is a very, I knew you would recognize that. In the past, this project was in the CIP and it was named as a SCADA system. Well, SCADA is a very complicated, very high level monitoring system for water and sewer. We're getting there little by little, step by step. So this is the right wording of what we're doing at the water treatment plant. So a little bit of background. This water treatment plant was constructed in mid-1970s. So it is in desperate needs of upgrades and repairs. And among the projects identified of the repairs needed is the upgrade of the mission control unit. So the mission control unit, what it's gonna allow our operators to do is two things. The first PLC system would be inside the water treatment plant by the control room, where all those blue little circles, that's our filtration system. All of those have different numbers. We read the turbidity, we read the flow, we need to read different items, but the guys have to do it manually. They have to go to each filter and take the read in the morning and in the afternoon. It also would allow us to see the turbidity that the plant is processing, how much flow the plant is processing. And all of that would be connected to the phone, just how we're able to see if the wells are running or not. Now the water treatment plant is we're gonna be able to see if it's running or not. Because right now, if there's power outage, we don't know about it unless we get a phone call from the alarm system. But sometimes we don't even get that, because not until the water tank reaches a low critical point, that's when it triggers the alarm, and that's not good. So this PLC system is gonna give us a lot more information and very useful information and save a lot of time for the operators that they spend at the plant. The second PLC system that is gonna be installed is at the water intake. So I have a little picture showing where the water treatment plant is in respect to the Frying Kern Canal. It's about 1.5 miles difference or away. So after the guys do their rounds at the water treatment plant, and if they determine that more flow is needed from the canal, they have to drive all the way to the canal and raise the flow at the pumps. Well, with this second PLC system at the plant, they're gonna be able to do that. They're gonna be able to turn on, turn off, and see what they're doing, or what they need all at the touch of the phone. So that's really exciting. So we requested bids. We only received 2 bids. Keep in mind, when dealing with the water and sewer system, especially in the water, because it's such an old plant, a lot of people wanna touch it. A lot of our equipment is outdated and they cannot even get parts for it. So, Telstar Instruments is the company that we normally use for most of our projects, because they're the only ones that know our system, because they've been with us for so many years. So, thankfully, they were the lowest bidder. They have most of the information of our system, and I think that's why the price difference. So the canal intake, it will be a little bit over $16,000. At the water treatment plant, 64,500 and change, and that will bring a total of $80,973, making the Telstar the lowest bidder. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Sorry, funding, where's the money coming from? So as you remember, we sold McDermott, and the HCD said you have to identify community projects, and this is one of the community projects that were identified. So we budgeted $100,000 out of the sales proceeds of McDermott, and it's budgeted on this coming cycle. So it's 100% funded. Now I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any question?
Yeah, is this a one-time cost?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. Does the system come with insurance in case it breaks down or in case?
Normally, all of the work we do, it has a 1-year warranty. Mhm.
And then, how long do these systems last?
What would you say, Benny? 10 years,
Oh,
15 years?
That's all I need to
Depends
know.
on the upgrade. I mean, it's technology.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, they can have the latest and greatest. So, but
As long
for
as
us
there's,
to use it,
as long as it's a one-time cost, there's some sort of safety net around the insurance coverage, I'm good. No other questions.
Is there any other question?
I don't have any questions, but I'm super excited for the Phoenix system because I've been fighting for this
yes.
since the very first time that I went to go do a little round with the whole water system. And I was amazed. That was one of the things, which was probably, I'm gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe over 8 years ago.
Some of
But
them,
yeah, and, I've been fighting and fighting, I'm like, come on, like, they need it, and now that it's here, I was, surprised, Kate, I'm like, wait, what? I was like, what? So finally, it's here, so I'm happy to see that little by little, like you said, this is like a baby, super baby step. You know, to all the restorations that need to be done with the water plant, but this is one baby step in the right direction. I'm very happy. And I'm sure that staff is too.
I agree with Councilman Sanchez there. It's a much needed upgrade, real time, faster time updates. Just preparing ourselves. And hearing no questions, I'd like to open this section of 11.6 for public comment. Seeing no public comment is not closed. Motion to approve.
I'll approve. I'll say.
We have a motion from Councilmember Sanchez and a second from Mayor Serna. Councilmember Villarreal.
Aye.
I heard like a bunch of different
Yeah,
ones.
they're
Sorry.
both-
Flores as a second. Okay. I will go with, okay, a second from Mayor Pro Tem Flores. Councilmember Villarreal,
Aye.
Councilmember Steros.
Aye.
Mayor Serna.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Moving right on to 11.7.
11.7, this is a two-part. So this goes, it ties to 11.8, that we will discuss right after. So this is a consideration for council to accept and adopt the annual enterprise pavement impact cost reimbursement study to take effect concurrently with the implementation of new water and sewer rates. With us in the audience, I would like to recognize Suko again. He's representing Provost and Pritchard. This was a team effort. And then we have Eric from Laurel Wells. They were the ones that put this study together, and they're the engineers behind all of these numbers that we're gonna talk about. So just a little bit of background. Back in 2004, the city did this analysis, and they came up with how much does the water, sewer, and refuse needs to pay the street fund, because the idea is that by having those infrastructure, those utilities, it damages the street. Every time the trash truck goes to your house every week to pick up trash, that's load, that's a stress. Every time there's a water leak, or just by the pipe being there, there's settlement that happens. So how can we quantify, how can we come up with a number that is fair to help the streets and be able to fix the roads? So this is what this study is all about. So to start with, the methodology that it was used for the solid waste is every time a vehicle travel on pavement, it causes the pavement to deteriorate. We know that. Pavement engineers generally use the concept of an equivalent single axle load. And that is used to measure the effects of the axle loads on pavement. So what Provost and Pritchard and Marwell did, they did a weekly residential estimated ESAL loading, and you can see all of the numbers and how they were calculated. So they take how many passes per week the refuse trucks go by, the vacuum trucks or other trucks and automotives, and they put a number and they come up with how much percentage per week does that loading relate to each of those items. Then they do an analysis per street classification. So the first street classification is the arterial and collectors. Those are your bigger streets. So how much of their calculations affect those streets? And then finally, how much of those affect the residential streets? And all of those numbers get put together and they come up with a number. For both collectors / arterials and for residential. And you can see the two numbers, 427,000 for one and $102,000 for the other. And then for water and sewer, it's a little bit different because those infrastructures are already there. And so how much damage do they cause to the streets? So there's two categories that were identified in that study. The first is utility trench patching. Every time we need to access that utility, we damage the street. And then there's other severe damage. So just by the pipe being there, it creates settlement. It creates stress on the road above. So they go through a calculation of how much does the residential overlay cost based on trench patching, but also how much does the trench patching cost for arterials and collectors. And they do their magic. It's a whole logic behind it. You have the full report, and for tonight it will be a lot to go over it, but we have the numbers of how much those add up to. Then they also do the analysis for residential streets. How much would it be the replacement and rehabilitation cost due to the other damage, which is the severe damage? And then there's a number. And then we go so forth through all of this. They do the categories of arterial collectors, trench patching, and then the other severe damage by each of the streets classification, and then they come up with their percentage. So this is just a summary of their findings. In the past, just to give you a perspective, the other study came up with a percentage, 23.6%. Each enterprise fund has to contribute to the street improvement fund. And to give you an idea how much that was combined, all of three, it was between $900 to $1 million. So $320,000 roughly each one were contributing to the SIP. And now with the new analysis in 2023, this is the numbers are changing. By law, we're supposed to do rate studies every 5 years. Remember I said this study was done in 2004 and it had never been done before. This is one of the items that were identified in the state auditors, in the state audit findings. So this is how we fix it. We have to do a study, here it is, and now we have to implement it. And that's why I said that once council, if council decides to approve it, we're asking that council to approve it concurrent with our next agenda item. So I know Councilmember Saros is shaking his head, but it is because he's recognizing that there's going to be an impact on streets. Instead of collecting $900 to $1 million, now the number is dropping. So we're going to be able to do less streets. We're going to have to find different ways to fix streets. We'll get there. So with that, this concludes my presentation for this item. So I will ask council to accept and adopt the annual enterprise pavement input cost and to make it effective concurrently with the implementation of the new water and sewer rates that we will talk about in a bit. Thank you.
So do you have any questions for this item?
Yeah, if you just clarify on the fiscal impact, it says that the refuse fund may not be able to collect this full amount. So what's gonna cover the rest?
One, two.
General fund?
Or finance.
Is it the general fund?
Okay. So no, each fund has to carry itself. So what we're saying is this the study says that it is fair that the refuse, the solid waste transfers $530,000. We know that the fund doesn't have enough money to make a transfer. Right now, it should be transferring $320,000 roughly. Is it making that transfer? So we're not talking about raising rates on the refuse right now. So that's why I put that little disclosure. Because yes, instead of seeing a total of $688,000, that's gonna drop probably by $200,000 even more. Because the refuse cannot transfer that much. Good catch.
I have to see, make sure the general fund's healthy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, this item is open for public comment. Hearing public comment? None, public comment section is closed.
kind of have to do this, so I guess I'll motion to approve.
If you're concurrent, do we have to approve it now, or can we wait for the next one, or does it have to be approved?
It has to be approved because all of the calculations that were done and all the data, we have, because by law, we have to adopt it. Because we've been out of compliance since 2009, supposed to be done every 5 years.
I'll second.
A motion from Councilmember Cerro, second from Councilmember Sanchez, Councilmember Villarreal,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Aye.
And Mayor Serna. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, moving on to our next section, 11.8. David will be presenting.
So this is one of the last ones. I think we're gonna have one more, but it's not mine.
This one, one.
Yeah.
My mouse
So city clerk, if you can bring up the
Yeah,
presentation.
my mouse disappeared. Hold on.
So, I would like to start by introducing the team. You have, different companies that have worked on this, for a very long time. I believe that process started in 2019, so we're finalizing it, by presenting it to council tonight. So with us, we have Eric. Eric, can you stand? He's from Barwells and Associates. He's our, rate consultant. He's the one that put this together. And also, I introduced before Suho. He's from Provost and Pritchard. We initiated this process with Provost and Pritchard, and now we're finalizing it, with Barwells. But Barwells has been in contract since 2019 with this, with the city. And of course, our new, finance director, Lindsay, she's been amazing into figuring out all these numbers. We had so many questions. She's been here 2 months and she has answered a lot of those questions. So I know she has made Eric's job a lot easier, because now we know where all those numbers come from. So with that, this is a 3-part presentation. I'll start by presenting. And then we will move on into our financial department, with Lacey, and then of course, Eric will be presenting, his findings in the solutions that he has come up with. So our water and sewer system assessment. So our water system, this is city of Lindsay. And for anybody that doesn't know, that blue line is the city of Lindsay limits. But then we also go outside. So when I'm talking about our water system, city of Lindsay goes beyond those limits. And we serve people to the top left, which is an Avenue 242 and Avenue 240. Then we furnish water to our north side, the northeast side, which is El Rancho. And of course, everybody knows that we also serve water to the Pagemore area, even though that's a county island. And then to our southwest, we have Sierra Shadows, it's a mobile home unit that we also serve water. So where does the water come from for Lindsay? We have 2 sources of water. One of the sources is through the Frying Current Canal. It's a contract that the city had for many, many years with the Bureau of Reclamation. We are entitled to 2,500 acre-feet per year. And of course, as we all know, water, especially Frying water, that's dependent on how much rain we get. So every year we get an allocation. Then it gets processed to our water treatment plant. And like I mentioned before, that water treatment plant has a lot of deficiencies because it was built back in mid-1970s. And there hasn't been that many upgrades done. We've been holding it together for way too long. But nevertheless, this is the one that treats our water from the Frying Current Canal. But then we also have 2 other sources. They're the groundwater source, and they're well 14 and 15 on your top left corner. You can see one of them is on Road 188 by Calardes Dairy, if you're familiar with that. And well 14 is on Avenue 242, it's in between 2 homes. If you pass it and don't know it's there, but it's there. But those 2 wells, they were put back online, or They were installed in the nineties. It was part of the lawsuit with the olive growers when the contamination happened. All of this came together in the nineties. So we do have, old infrastructure that needs, a lot of repair. And also, the water system, it consists of the distribution system. So how do we transfer the water that we treat, the water that we extract? It has to go through the pipes. So we have approximately 48.5 miles of, pipeline throughout the city. And we have those, all of these maps are posted online if you ever want to see how big your pipe is in front of your house. So we recognized that we had an issue a couple of years ago. And one of the items, I want to say it was one of my first items when we thought we were going to run out of water because the allocation from the Bureau was 0%. Where are we going to get the water? What kind of problems do we have that we don't even know about? The city had done it in 2013, a feasibility study, but we came back and said, we need to update it. We need to know what our real problem is. So we completed this feasibility study and it was presented to council. This feasibility study for, the purpose, it was to identify potential water supply shortage. Because if something breaks, what are we gonna do? We, it also looked into explore alternatives. We have 2 wells. We know we need more. How many more? That, this feasibility study identified that. And also we needed to build a capital improvement project plan, because we know we have 48 miles of pipelines, but when were they put in? How long has it been since they have been repaired? So we know we have to do something. So now this feasibility study identifies all of those projects that need to be done. And of course, the objective of the study, it was to assess the current state of the water system, identify the challenges and limitations, and evaluate potential solutions and determine the feasibility of implementing the recommended solutions. The method used was through data collection. We've been collecting a lot of data that the engineers used to develop this study and to come up with all of the projects that are needed. There was a technical analysis to assess the infrastructure. And in this, I will bring it up. There's a map that identifies all of the projects. Also, our water quality. We all know that the state keeps making a lot of regulations and they're making it harder and harder to meet. So what are we gonna do? How do we address that in the future? And also demand projections. Councilmember Cerros talked about economic development. If I cannot deliver water for our current residents, how can we think about adding even more homes or bringing more business into the city? So how do we address all that? Also, as just as part of the evaluation of the water system, we know that what our historic supply and demands have been and what the future demands could be by assuming a rate of population increase per year. So that was used in this study. The other thing that it looked into the study was the water system supply. During the winter months is when we're the most, we're very weak, to say the least. Every 3 years, the Franklin Canal gets put offline for maintenance. This is federal mandated, no ifs and buts. There's nothing we can do. Every 3 years, they shut it off, they stop all flow because they have to make their repairs. During those months, which normally goes from November to February 28th, the city only has those 2 wells. So God forbid an accident were to happen, like we had 2 years ago when somebody fell asleep at 2 a.m. and luckily it only hit the corner of one of the wells. So we were able to bring it back online very quickly. But we don't have a redundancy. We don't have a third source to rely on. So then we move on into our deficiencies for the surface water treatment plant that, like I mentioned, we have from mid-70s. We know that the Bureau of Reclamation has to give us 2,500 acre feet, but because the treatment plant is so old, we cannot process what the contract says that we're entitled to. Luckily, in good years, when the turbidity is very low, and turbidity, when they release a lot of water, there's a lot of rain, the water goes crazy and it increases the turbidity. And our plant cannot treat it, cannot slow it down because it doesn't have that type of technology, so we cannot even use it. This last year, it was towards the end of, I want to say it was towards the end of April, May, when we were barely able to handle some water coming to the water treatment plant. Just because it's old and some of the, it has a lot of deficiencies that it cannot process our current situation with the releases that the Bureau does. And finally, the distribution system, like I said, there was an evaluation done in a computer model to simulate the operation of the entire system and identify substandard areas, especially we do not need fire flow at certain times in certain areas. And that's a big no-no, because if your house gets set on fire, you're counting on the fire department and public safety should show up and put out your fire. But I can guarantee you that if it is during the winter when we don't have access through that canal, they always call city service to say, can we access the fire hydrant? And there might be a time that we might say, no, you cannot, because we're barely able to meet demand. So this is the situation that we're in as of today. The only one positive thing that the feasibility identified is our storage system. We all know the 4 million gallon tank in Tuxkill. It says that we're sufficient and we have plenty of storage volume that is required. So we do have one positive area that we don't have to worry about as of yet. So I'm just gonna move forward because I talked of most of it, but this study identified all of the deficiencies, like I've been saying, and identified multiple projects in the water treatment system, which is the treatment plant, in the distribution system, and of course, like the storage systems is none. But this is the map that I was talking about when they did their modeling for fire flow pressure. You can see all of the colors, all of those colors, all those pipes, they need to be replaced. Not only because they're old, they're undersized, and they do not meet fire flow demands. So we do have a plan in place that if the city has money, we can start moving and fixing those. And they are organized in the order of priority. And this is the chart the Provost and Pritchard put together for identifying all of those different categories of projects. So you have pipeline projects, you have groundwater wells are needed so we can have redundancy and have emergency wells to go and count on. You have well 11, it is counted here. How do we bring it back online? How much would it cost? We have it here. How many surface water projects do we need at the water treatment plant to make it compliant, to be able to treat more water? They're here. And of course, eventually at the storage tank, we have to repaint it. So we have a project that is identified. So I will not go into detail, but you can see in the binders that I've been giving council, you have this detail of projects of how much would it cost. And remember the cost goes up every single day, it seems like. So those numbers were put in 2023, sorry. So it can be more. Thankfully, one of the projects that we are funding and we're taking into consideration is this settlement for well 11. So that full revenue is already accounted for as an income for the city. So how much money are we needing with all of this that I've been saying? So if you add up this chart, it's a little bit under $40 million. So we have a $40 million project. And how can we afford to do more projects? Because now we're talking about water quality and water safety. How do we solve our issues as of today? But then looking at the future, God knows what the state is going to be putting more restrictions on. Like the two that we have identified that we're probably going to have to deal with are those two. So, thinking about all of those things. So this water feasibility study has provided valuable information regarding the challenges that we've been facing, and the city's water supply has been facing. It has recommended several projects to address these challenges. But as Lindsay will tell you, we don't have the funding to pay for it. So we need to, do something now, because we should have done it 10 years ago. Probably even before that we should have started this process, but luckily it wasn't done, or not luckily. But I don't wanna go back to the past, but this should have been done a long time ago. So I guess I will move on from that. But if we're able to find solutions of how to fund all of these projects, we can have reliable water supply for the future, but most importantly, the quality and safety, and safe water, drinking water for our residents. So with that, the city's water rates revenues are significantly below the existing expenditures. We know that, we've been talking about it for a few years. And they do not cover the cost of providing current water services or the needed, capital improvement projects. And something has to be done. So I'll ask council to hang on with us. This is a 3-part, and I'll hand it over to, one more, wastewater. So this is water and sewer. Wastewater is not bad, not as bad as water, because there was an expansion that was done in the water treatment plant in 1999, which was funded by the USDA. We still have a loan that we're still paying. But we're only using, we have a treatment plant that can process up to $2.2 million gallons per day. And we're only using less than half. So we're still in good standing, but we know that prices go up. There's pipes that need to be replaced. We have a little shy under 42 miles of pipeline that have been in place for a very long time. We need to start doing a replacement project. So in 20 years, we don't end up like the water system. There we go. And also we have 4 lift stations to maintain. So with that, that concludes my presentation. So I'll pass it on to Lindsay.
Good evening, Mayor Summer, Mayor Pro Tem Flores, and council members.
Good evening.
Currently, the city of Lindsay cannot afford the problems that NEVA has brought forward. And as you can see illustrated on the screen before you are the last 4 years, where the water fund has been deficit spending. Each year, the revenues have been outpaced by the expenditures. So in 2021, we were deficit spending by $197,658. 21-22, we were deficit spending by $99,647. 22-23, we were deficit spending by $610,188. And this current year that just closed, we deficit spend by $374,964 for a total of $1,282,459 over 4 years. Deficit spending is where the expenditures exceed your revenues. When deficit occurs, it must be covered by the general fund, and the rates must increase to keep the account solvent. The city's general fund is also currently deficit spending in the past year and cannot support other funds. The city has not increased these rates since 2009. A state audit was conducted in 2020, and the state identified the city as a high-risk entity and specifically called attention to our enterprise funds operating with deficits, stating that we need to raise our rates. This excerpt is pulled directly out of that state auditor report that was posted August of 2021. As you can see, the deficit began in 2017 with 585,000 deficit, 771,000 deficit in 2018-19, and 19-20, almost $1 million at 966 deficit. So for the past 7 years now, the total would be $3,604,000, which leads us to tonight's study where we asked Barbara Wills to come in and help us with a study to help with the situation. The city of Lindsay understands the need for these rate increases to maintain our water infrastructure and supply to the community, but also understands that it's necessary and important to keep the cost affordable for our community members. Therefore, the city has hired Barlow Wells Associates to complete a water rate study. And we've asked for multiple options to be presented to you tonight so that we could try to keep our fund solvency in mind by also keeping our community members in mind as well. So I'm going to turn over the presentation to Eric with Barlow Wells so he can present you with 3 different options.
Thank you, Lindsay. Hi there, my name's Eric Helgeson. I'm a principal of Barlow Wells Associates, and I manage the project of the rate study. Presentation's loading. Barlow Wells is an independent municipal advisory firm since the '60s, based in the Bay Area. All we do is municipal finance rates and financing. So today I'm gonna go over the rate study process, talk about Prop 218, which is the main law that governs how rate revenues are collected, and then go into the rate studies for the different enterprises. So the objectives of the rate studies are to have enough revenue to fund the identified capital needs, also to continue to fund operations, and to meet debt service payments, and to also comply with the state mandates. The other primary goal of the rate study is to make sure that the rates are legally compliant. So this means that the rates have to, one of the key provisions of Prop 218 is that the rates have to be proportional to the service provided. So, two fairly significant aspects of the rate study. One, looking at the revenue, which is a big lift, and 2, bringing the rate structures back into proportional alignment with how your system is operating. So the process of the rate study, the first big step, we gather all the data and we develop a long-range financial plan. And so this is where we bring the budget, the capital plan, all any existing debt, the infrastructure impact costs all together, and look at what does it look like each enterprise will need now, the current 5-year window we're looking at with rates, and the next 10-year window to make sure it's on the right track. In that part of the process, we identify the amount of rate revenue that's going to be necessary to keep everything moving. Once we identify the amount of rate revenue we need, we take that and then we do a cost of service analysis and identify the proportion or what drives the need for these costs. And then we allocate the revenue, amount of revenue we identify that we need to the different components of the rate structure based on what's driving the cost, so that you have that proportionality.
A lot.
It's just a lot of Excel. That's basically it. So jumping into Prop 218, there's substantive requirements which I touched on. Rates cannot exceed the cost of service, and rates need to be proportionate to the service that's being provided. There's also procedural requirements. So where we're at in the process, once the rates have been developed, in order to adopt those rates, the city has to mail out notices stating what the maximum rate can be. And then those notices have to be mailed out 45 days prior to holding a public hearing. The public has an opportunity to protest. If 50% of the customers submit written protests, then the rates that were noticed cannot go forward. If not, then the council has the option to decide whether or not to increase those rates. And the other thing to note is those rates that are noticed are, what we are proposing are the
maximum rates. So we've already heard a lot about the water enterprise, but I will just mention that, rates are the main source of funds, and so they need to be set at adequate levels, and those rates have not increased since 2009. We heard a lot about the capital needs for the 10-year financial plan used in the rate study. The total amount was reduced to $26 million, and some of the projects that were deemed less critical were pushed into the beyond 10-year horizon. Everything is an estimate, especially the further out you get, but the revenue increase that's needed in the water fund is significant, so we're trying to make it as incremental as possible, and we'll look at some options we developed as well. So the key financial challenges, the fund is currently in a deficit without any capital spending. So the current revenues are not sufficient to just pay for operations on an annual basis. There's also no reserve remaining. So the minimum reserve threshold that's recommended is about 3 months, or is 3 months of operating as a minimum. And then the target that we usually recommend is a year of operating costs in reserve for water funds. And the reason for this is if you have an emergency, the enterprise needs to be able to operate for months without revenue. Also, you have fluctuations in water demands and funding capital projects. There's a kind of a wave, up and down the reserve. But that's the minimum is 3, and we recommend targeting here. So operating costs, the last increase of this was in 2009. There's been over 50% inflation since then, and water costs tend to go up even higher than inflation. And so when we designed the study, we included a 4% inflation assumption to be on the conservative side. We want to make sure that the rates fund the system now, but also into the future. And then also we brought in the capital funding assumptions as well. So in the first 5-year period, we're looking at needing to fund about $2.2 million from rates, and build up to a level where the enterprise can fund about either add to reserves or fund cash, or fund either capital with cash or debt service of about $1 million a year. So we initially developed a scenario, kind of the most financially the best for the fund, but also probably the most painful, kind of the rip the Band-Aid off scenario, and brought it to the team. And that's the scenario 1. So that's the just doing it, getting the increase out of the way the first year, and then going to relatively inflationary increases after that. We then went back and developed some different levels of phasing. So a partial phasing where you have a 50% increase, a 20% increase, and then go to those inflationary levels. Full phasing, so kind of the lowest you could reasonably go each year to get up to where you need to be. But and the trade-off is you're delaying the building of the reserve, and the final rate, with the more you phase it in, the higher the final rate ends up being. So it's kind of more pain now, and versus, it's kind of how you delay it. But these are significant increases, so each system, each scenario is reasonable, and you have to balance the immediate impact versus the long term. So this figure is essentially a picture of the financial plan. And for scenario 1, I want to show the 10-year version of this because it shows where the fund is going. So the columns represent the total expenses in each year. And then the green line represents the total revenue, and the dotted black line represents your reserves. So, currently the fund is operating below the cost of, the cost is greater than the revenue. And there's no capital spending in this year and none projected for next year. There are also some, I think the budget was also trimmed down for the 24-25 budget. So what we're trying to do is bring revenues up and get them in line with the future level of capital spending that you're going to need to do. It's not gonna happen all at once, but we're trying to get there and then keep it so you're at a level where your revenues are maintaining above your or at expenses. This shows the scenario 2, the partial phase-in. So your reserves, as I said, build up a little slower, revenues build up a little slower, and finally the full phase-in. So I just want to show how that looks on a 10-year, and then what we're looking at on this 5-year increments. So we're also looking at,
That was option 2 that you just showed?
This is option 1, and this is option 2.
The first one was a 70% increase.
Correct.
The first year, and the second was a 50%, right?
Correct. And then this is option 3, the 35% increase. So those are the different rate revenue requirement scenarios. So that's the total revenue you need to collect. Then how you collect it or how you split the pie is the next piece of this, and that's complying with that proportionality requirement in Prop 218. So our recommendation is to move to just a uniform rate, meaning a rate you pay for every unit of water you use. That's kind of the most simple rate structure, but it's also the easiest to defend, and especially with Prop 218, it continues to be more litigious. There was a case that just came through for Otay Water District where that judge ruled against their tiered water rates. So, we recommend uniform rates because they're the safest, but also they're much simpler to administer. It's like if someone has a leak, it's just how many units were leaked, you can make that adjustment. It's just a very clean way to do that, but there's also still a conservation incentive because the more you use, the more you pay. It's just you pay the same amount for each unit you use. But we think it's for most, especially smaller cities, we feel that this is the best course of action to take in the current environment. We're also recommending that the fixed rates reflect the meter capacity ratios. So what that is the maximum safe flow in a meter. And looking at the relationship of that maximum flow in each meter, it's not just a 1-to-1. It starts to be exponential as it grows from a 5/8 inch to an 8-inch line. And so we're recommending that the fixed charges change to reflect that. We're also recommending just to defensibility and also will be easier to administer, changing the multifamily charges instead of per unit to just be based on the meter. For most of the customers we looked at, that impact will be fairly similar. If you have a 2-inch meter, but you have 10 units. So in some cases, the open house is capable of so that's just the other recommendation. And finally, we recommend removing the fire standby charge. Everyone has the benefit of either if you have sprinklers, you also have that. If you don't, there's also hydrants. Actually, if you have only hydrants, you probably end up needing more flow than if you have a sprinkler. It actually reduces the overall flow demand. So we recommend just moving away from that. Also for the we feel it's just a more defensible structure. So this shows your current rates and then where these different scenarios will put you relative to surrounding communities. And one thing, option one is also, kind of looking at where you'd be at the end of the 5 years, but you have to keep in mind that everyone is experiencing increased regulation, inflation, aging systems. So, you know, it's not a static process. Also, every system is a little different, so it's hard to read too much into this. People use different amounts of water in different cities. But I think what this says is, you know, your rates are very low because they haven't increased for a long period of time, and then they would increase to not even be the highest. And I believe, if I remember correctly, Orange Cove is, I think, the only other one of these cities that has surface water as well. So it's the most similar, I think. We also looked at bill comparisons at different water usage levels. The spread is fairly similar. The impact is really in those first 5 units that are currently free, and those are now being charged. But we also shifted the cost to be a little bit more volumetric to try to ease that impact a little bit on those customers as well. But there is still if you only used 5 units, you still see an impact.
One quick question on that slide. So which one of our residents do they fall on that low water usage or that average water usage? And then which one of the businesses do they fall under?
Yeah, this is looking at just residential customers.
Just residential.
And it's a range. Your annual average is about 12.5 units per month. But 20 is more your summer average. So we show the high use and low use customer. Just to illustrate the range of impacts. So this shows what the proposed rates would be for each scenario. This is going to the 5-year, for scenario 1, so the jump to the immediate jump to the level of revenue you need. So the volumetric rate would go from to $1.94 for all units used, so the current 102. And then the meter sizes, the big impact would be on those larger meters, like the 8-inch, the 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch. Right now, your fixed charge is kind of there's not a lot of difference between your current fixed charges of the different meter sizes. So this would kind of bring it in to reflect the capacity that each meter needs in the water system. This is the scenario 2. I won't read through all of the rates, but the volumetric goes to 171. The 5/8 is 24.44, and then in scenario 1, it's 154 and 22 for the 5/8. So that's the water system. Moving on to the sewer enterprise. Essentially the same story. Rates on the enterprise. Rates have not been also the sewer increase since 2009. The sewer enterprise is in better shape. Still, inflation has been, prices have been rising. They'll continue to rise. There's about 2.4 million in rate funded capital in the next 5 years. It's a little more in this 5-year window, but less in the 10-year window than water. We're in the financial plan we developed. It looks like you probably would need to finance about $1.3 million just to be able to let rates just be smooth and even rather than having a spike. And we have the same reserve recommendations. One other thing I do want to say with the change in the impact fee in the SIP that was talked about before. It reduces the SIP burden on sewer and water, and so that's why the sewer, especially, you're seeing much more manageable rate increases because that's factored in. So if that was there, it'd be higher. If it existed at the same levels, it'd be higher rate increases. This is the same, picture of the financial plan that I talked about before. Trying to keep the revenues, greater than expenses. In those last 2 years, the reason the revenues are greater than expenses is because there's a bigger spike in capital, and that's being debt financed. So the debt service increases in that last 28-29 year. Yeah, so going forward, you'd expect that level of cash fund capital. You still need that, but it's just in that year we wanted to fund that capital debt to raise your reserves a little bit, and also to just kind of smooth over the spike in capital need. We developed 2 scenarios for sewer. Also, these are mostly related to the rate structure change. So again, your sewer rates have also not been looked at in a very long time, and you have a lot of kind of you have some only volumetric customers, you have some only fixed customers, some industrial fixed customers, and so we're recommending kind of transitioning to a more a structure you can apply more evenly. So we came up with 2 scenarios. One scenario is just having start even 5% rate increases every year. And another scenario is letting the rate structures go into effect in the first year. And some customers will see some significant impacts. Some will see their bills go down, but letting that structure doesn't happen and then begin raising rates the next year. And if you wait a year, then it looks like you get about 7% increases every year. And so that's what this scenario shows, is delaying the revenue increase for a year and then having the 7% increases after that. So our rate structure recommendation is to move the non-residential customers into a monthly, into a rate structure where you have a monthly fixed rate for all your customers, and you also have volumetric rates based on strength. And so we're recommending having 3 strength categories: low strength, which is like retail, shops, customers that don't, where the flow into the wastewater system is not causing the need for a lot of treatment. Medium, and then high strength, which is typically like restaurants. You already have that restaurant rate, which is higher than the other financial rate for car washes. So this shows the impact, how you compare to other agencies with the residential sewer bills. With you're on the lower end, you'd still stay on the lower end sewer bills. If you go to option 1, the rate will increase by 5%. If you stay with option 2, part of that rate restructuring, the residential rates actually would go down a little bit. They're not actually going up a full 5%, because more of the cost burden is being shifted to the non-residential customers, because they kind of bring them up to pay their fair share now. So this shows what the proposed rates would be in the scenario 1. Again, the residential rates would be going up, but not quite 5% in the first year, and then it would be 5% to the following years once the rate structure change takes place. You have the single fixed charge for your commercial, which would be 28, which is lower than the residential rate, but then every commercial customer would also pay a volumetric rate as well. That would reflect the volume of flow into the system. And so you have your laundromats at 185 going to 98 cents to be a medium customer. The restaurants at 290 going to 196. However, they now have the fixed charge, which they didn't pay before. So it's kind of the middle of all of your varying rate structures is the structure we're recommending to use going forward, and that could be easily applied to any new non-residential customer that comes online. So bringing it all together, we looked at your current rates compared to your neighbors as well, and you're looking at your current combined water and sewer bill. You're the for a residential customer currently the lowest. If you went with the full, there's too many variations to put all the options in here, so I'm showing the lowest end, which would be the no increase in the first year, and the full phase in. You basically just jump above Porterville, and then if you went with going to 70%, you have a scenario 1 water increase and a 5% increase on the sewer revenue. You can move on Farmersville, but you still wouldn't be the highest combined bill of the region. So next steps would be looking to send out the Prop 218 notice that I talked about. We're looking to try to get that sent out by the 6th, but I'll turn it back to Lacey to talk about that, and then public outreach. We need to have the public hearing at least 45 days past that point, and then we'll look to have rates be effective January, and also to continue to be effective January 1 as well. So I'm going to turn it back over to Lacey to talk about the public outreach. Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Okay, so we will follow the schedule that Eric outlined. The public outreach agenda planned currently is as listed on the screen with Kiwanis Chamber of Commerce, Coffee Talk, Rotary, Lions Club, Lindsay Hospital Board, a town hall in both English and Spanish on separate days, so that there's no confusion. Lindsay Wellness Program Committee and Commercial and Industrial Accounts. And if you guys have any other members you would like me to reach out to, we will also be working with our big vendors such as VitaPack and the school district that will be impacted, but we want to get the information out and bring it back for the public hearing. And that was on September 6th, I believe, right? That's when we send notices. That's when we're going to send notices and then bring it back for the public hearing. And tonight we will need your direction. So this is where we come to you tonight asking which direction you would like to authorize the city to go for both water and sewer. So we'll have to do it in 2 separate recommendations. So first, I would like to ask for your direction on option 1, 2, or 3 for water, where we would do an immediate rate increase for option 1, a partial phase in for option 2, or a option 3 where we full phase in.
Thoughts?
I mean, I have thoughts, because I did some homework. Option 2, I feel like would be the best for the community. Like I said, I know some of us, we can go into the full phase, some of us can afford it, but if we look at the community, we want to make sure that we're reaching them there, they can afford it, But I definitely know this is a need for the community, so. To keep our water is a vital resource for us, so.
I would agree with option 2 as well. I know option 1 creates more revenue immediately, but I think the rates themselves, they're feasible at the second level, second tier. The other thing that I would just want to say is that we need to have a town hall meeting, just kind of really inform everybody of what's happening, because this was a lot of information to take in, and I know the more conversations that we have, the easier it is to understand. I know our job is an easy one, but we're trying to do what's best for it.
So I take direction to go with option 2.
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, not question. Actually, if neighbor can please, I asked this question prior, because I had met you, so I just want to say it here so it's recorded. But can you explain why Lindsay or other cities are a little bit more than our rates? Like, why is their rates a little higher?
Well, the number one reason is because Lindsay hasn't done a rate increase. I wanna say I went back to 1998 and probably was done before that. And the last, inflation increase, the CPI increase, as they noted, was done in 2009. But a rate, study was not done prior to before 2000.
And then and then the question that I do have is, or I guess if you can explain, because I know it took me a long time to understand my water bill on how it's, how we are billed and the usage. Can you let us know, explain to us the water usage and how the rates apply to that water?
So, I think one of the changes that we're proposing is I call it the structural change. So currently, when you get your monthly bill, and let's just say for July, that's when we use the most water because it's so hot. So Lindsay currently charges you a base amount, which is $19.97 a month. So that's how much you pay regardless you use water or not. But then also Lindsay gives you 500 cubic feet per month. We call it free water. We know we cannot continue to give out free water. So now the rate study is showing or is proposing to change that. And how much would it cost the city for you to have access to water? That's your base rate per month. So we're proposing different increases, and like council is saying, option 2 is the best one for the community. And now that we're not gonna be giving free water, the volumetric charge is every time you open your faucet, for every 100 cubic feet, you're gonna be charged. So that's the difference. We're giving 500 cubic feet right now for free, and that's going away. Does that answer that question?
Are there any other questions or thoughts?
The council, just for further clarification, for those who are not familiar with cubic feet, 700. So a cubic foot of water is about 750 gallons, it's just short of 700 gallons.
Our engineers agree with you.
7.3.
Any other questions?
I also wanted to point out regarding the 6-inch and the 8-inch. It's like a big jump. It's like a lot. So
Those are much bigger pipes.
Right.
So that's another change that Eric was talking about. How do we make it proportional? So if at my house I have a 1-inch meter rate, the city should only charge me for how much volume and how much benefit I'm getting for that 1 inch. So just to put in perspective, 1 inch is $19.97 and our 8-inch is $120 a month or so. So now, just by logic, an 8-inch is much bigger. You're gonna have a lot more volume of water. Now we're proposing to jump to $1,500, $1,200, because now those commercial accounts, they require more from the water system. So now we're making it proportional. Everybody's gonna be paying the service that they're receiving.
So they were under paying,
Yes,
so now we're bringing it up to par.
correct.
And that includes our ranchers, correct?
That includes everyone.
Any other thoughts, anyone?
Okay, so my direction for water is option 2. We will now go to sewer, and we would continue to get direction for option 1, which is an immediate rate revenue increase. Or option 2, delay that rate revenue increase for 1 year and then increase. So I will answer any questions, get thoughts.
I say option 2, since we're already increasing it the first year for one bill, just to go soft in. Option two plus, yeah, option two, is the option we selected before. It's not the bare minimum, it still needs to meet those, I think it gives the people some breathing room to adjust to the change. So option two for me.
Any other thoughts? I agree with option two as well. But I also wanted to add that I know it's 5 years out and we should go with option one just to just get it over and done with. But I also know, keep in mind that our residency was, it's a hard road. Being that I'm agreeing to option two, I also do believe that leadership has also, that they play a big role. For the simple fact that the reason I wouldn't want to go with option one is I feel like it's too far of a stretch. And we're gonna have quite a bit of money in an account. And it makes me very nervous, and I hate to say this, but it makes me very nervous to have, not saying that brand new, right? And we have staff, just so you guys understand that, you know, having a big amount of money in that account and being what happened in the past, I think that I would want to play it safe and just go with the option two, just to show that, you know, to be transparent, that money can stay in that account.
It will stay in that account.
Within, you know, it's supposed to stay in that account, so it, you know, help everybody out, right? So that would be my review for options.
Okay, so, I have directions for option two for both water and sewer. So council action is moving for option two. I need the council to also receive the water rate draft study report. And then we'll have 2 more actions after that.
And just as a reminder, we still do need to take public
I
comment.
know, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're working on it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Now we can open it.
This section is now open to public comment.
Hi, I'm Virginia Loya. I think it's great that we're finally gonna get something done, but I think that, I don't know how sometimes the residents don't know about it, because we always complain about not knowing. So you guys have to figure out, and sit down, that at least 90% of them know, because they're gonna come back at you guys. I don't see that. And I think if you explain everything right to them, I mean, everybody knows that we do need better water, right? I mean, we do. But I think that we need to explain it to them right and whatever, and just make sure that they all know, most of them know.
I think, thank you. Is there any other public comments? Seeing none, this section is now closed.
So I need council action to receive the water and sewer rate draft study.
News travels fast. But we're,
Receiving the rate study that was presented.
our motion to approve the raise.
Sorry, was that Sanchez that seconded? Okay, sorry. So we have a motion to approve to receive the water and rate studies from Mayor Cerna, second by Councilmember Sanchez, Councilmember Villarreal.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Aye.
Councilmember Saros.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I already jumped to 2 and 3, but I have your options for option number 2, but I still need your vote. So for water, do we have a motion for option 2?
I'll motion. Option 2.
We have a motion from Councilmember Villarreal, second from Mayor Pro Tem Flores, Councilmember Saros,
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez. Aye. Mayor Cerna. Motion carries for option 2 for water, 5-0.
Okay, I also have your option 2 for sewer. Do I have a motion for that?
Motion for option two, Christopher.
So,
A motion from Councilmember Sarah, second from Mayor Serna. Councilmember Villarreal,
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores. Motion carries 5-0 for option two.
Okay, next one is authorizing resolution number 2430, setting the Proposition 218 public hearing date, where we will recommend the rate adjustments will be considered for adoption for October 22nd of 2024.
Motion to approve resolution number 24-3. To set the public hearing for October 22nd.
A motion from Councilmember Sarah, second from Councilmember Sanchez. Councilmember Villarreal,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Aye.
Mayor Serna. Motion carries 5-0 to authorize the resolution.
Okay, and the last one is authorizing staff to send the notice of public hearing to the City of Lindsay water and wastewater customers.
English and Spanish, right?
Yes.
Motion to authorize staff to send the notice of public hearing.
The motion from Councilmember Saros, second from Councilmember Sanchez. Councilmember Villarreal,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores, Mayor Serna.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for a great presentation. You guys are great.
Good job, guys. Okay, moving to, or say, relax. And 11 point.
So, as you are likely aware, the League of California Cities Annual Conference is in October, and there will be different resolutions presented on a Friday, I believe. And the city needs to designate a voting delegate and an alternative. Those currently on schedule to attend are City Manager Damon. Even though he's not elected, he would still be an option. Mayor Serna and Councilmember Saros are the ones that we have on the list right now.
So I've done it the last few years, but if one of you guys want the experience of waking up early and voting, by all means, take it. Otherwise, I'm not gonna do it.
And I'm sorry,
Giving it up.
as far as the resolutions, we're supposed to be getting them at the end of the month, so I'll bring those back for you guys' review probably next month.
Up to you guys. I'm open for it.
I think it'd be more appropriate to have a council member, but I'm certainly willing to fill that role.
I can do it.
So I have direction of Councilmember Saros as the primary. Do we have an alternate?
I'll be the
Okay, I do need a vote for
on motion to approve.
that. Okay,
Section 11.9, designation of League of California Cities voting delegate and alternate.
okay, so a motion to approve by Mayor Serna, second by Councilmember Sanchez, Councilmember Villarreal,
Aye.
Councilmember Saros,
Bye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, got through the section. Thank you, guys. We're gonna take a brief recess and vote for a second close.
I would like get a little.